everybody, and welcome to this video in which we are going to be looking at a game called Railway Empire. Now, I've been looking forward to this on Nintendo Switch for quite some time now. It was meant to be out much earlier in the year, but it got pushed back a couple of times. So, yeah, I've been waiting for it. It is now finally out, thank goodness, and I've been playing it. I've got a review going up on digitallydownloaded.net as well. But basically, I really enjoyed the original game on PlayStation 4. And the reason I wanted to check it out on Nintendo Switch was that the Switch doesn't actually have a great simulation experience on it just yet. That's not to say that there aren't sim games on there. There is a port of City Skylines, for example. But unfortunately, that's not a great port. It's a great game, but unfortunately, it's not the highest quality port to the Switch that we've seen. There's also one that I do still play a bit to this day. It's called Project High Rise, which is a little bit like Sim Tower, in that you're building a single building up. You can fill it with office residents, or just tenants, or kind of turn it into a hotel. But that game, it's enjoyable, and like I said, I do still play it to this day, but it is a little bit more limited. It's not the in-depth, meaty simulation experience that I really like and crave. So, Railway Empire, I had high hopes for. Thankfully, as you'll see, it's actually quite a good game, quite enjoyable. Now, what I've done to just show this game off, because it's a little bit hard to show a game like this in short clips through a normal video, so I'm doing this a little bit like a pre-recorded stream as such. I'll play for about 10 minutes to show you just the start of a game, so you get a sense of what you do at the start and, you know, whether this is the kind of thing that you have an immediate feel for. I've set up a sandbox mode where I'm playing against one AI opponent, and I have set up in South America. Now, if you buy the game out the box, you get a couple of different maps throughout North America. You get this South American map. There's also European maps and the maps in Great Britain and the UK, but those are DLC. They're completely optional. You don't need to buy them if you just want to get your feet wet first to see if you enjoy the game. The base content within it is perfectly sufficient. That DLC is just there if you find this thing to be really addictive, which I think a lot of people will. In Railway Empire, one other thing I do need to mention, you don't actually build up the cities themselves. So a lot of people come into simulations basically expecting to control every part of the experience, whether it's SimCity and they build an entire city, or something like Theme Park where they control every single ride in there. In Railway Empire, you only control the transport networks, so you really are only responsible for linking cities up with trains, making sure that the resources are flowing to those cities as they need to via the rail network. If you do that well, then you actually see the cities grow up around the train system, which is a really nice little touch. I'm a big fan of games that highlight the importance of transportation to the growth and health of cities, because I think when you play a game like SimCity, it's a little bit hidden, the precise role that a train network plays. But this game really brings that to the fore and shows you that if you play well and you build up a good solid train network, then you can look forward to having robust trade between the cities and having a really healthy kind of growth in the cities. If you play poorly, then the cities that you don't really connect up well or don't pay too much attention to, they don't tend to grow very nicely, and I think that's a useful thing that certain governments, especially here in Australia, would do well to learn. So what I've done so far is I've really only just started, and I've set up train stations in 2 of the cities. This is my capital as such. As you can see, there's really not much there at the moment. It's a tiny little village. And I've also set up a train to connect up to just over the water here, which is also a tiny little town. Now, my next task will be to actually start playing the game, and that is by linking the trains up with track. So I pull up the menu, and you're going to see how simple it is. You just select the bit of the track, of the train station that you want to hook up, and you just draw the track where you would like it to go. Obviously, you want to be efficient with this because you are on a budget. I have put it on easy mode, so I've got a $3 million budget for the purposes of this demonstration, but you do still only have a budget. You do still have to work within your means. So I've connected up nice and efficiently, and just like that, bang. So once I'm happy with that connection, I build the route, and now I have a train line. The next task is to actually link those trains up, those cities up with trains. So I pull up the new train menu, and I've added and I add a locomotive. Now, at the moment, there's just the one train. As you go along, you research up new trains. This game is played out in real time. So you start out in 1850, I believe, and then as you play along, it goes to later years, and as you get to those later years, you get much more complex trains to work with. They're much powerful, much more fast. They can transport more things. So let's select that one, and as you can see, it's a very cheap little train. And I now need to add a route. So I select this train station. That's the start of my route. And since I've only got one train station that I can go to at the moment, I select that one. And just like that, you'll see they're now linked. And by saving and ending, all of a sudden, I now have a train. And it's going to fill up with people and goods and anything else that needs to get transported. And it's going to go between the two train lines. It's as simple as that. This game really does aim to be a fairly complicated simulator in terms of the depth of strategy that you need, but it does try to be very easy to access. Some other transport network games can actually be quite complex, unpleasantly so, I would say, and they can be very unwieldy as a result. Now, I do need to build a supply tower, so every time the train runs through it, it gives the train the supplies that it needs to continue running, and without it, what happens is the trains degrade quite rapidly and then your investment gets wasted. So let's stick that in, just to be on the safe side, because these supply towers aren't that expensive anyway. I'll double supply this train twice, so it gets new supplies twice over, which keeps it healthier. Now, just like that, we can now zoom right into the little train. We can watch him. How do we watch him? So we center the train. There we go. We're now watching the train move back and forth across the network. So it's pretty fulfilling right out the back gates. People who like trains, like me, find that you have a little train right away, and yeah, it's good. Now, let's do a little. Let's be a little bit more adventurous. So if we selected a small train station and we expand it, now it's got, for the cost of $60,000, it'll have 2 tracks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link up over here as well, and I'll have trains running back and forth with the middle city being kind of the center point. All trains go there. So we pull up the menu, building construction, small train station, and we construct that building there. Okay. Next up, we link it up via the tracks, of course. I don't know why that does that. Remove that. There. Okay. It's a little hint. The interface for this game isn't generally pretty good, but some of the button that you need to press are a little bit odd, and it does take a short time to get used to. Now that was nice and easy. I've connected it up to the second train route there, which is fine. And let's just build that there. Okay. So once again, we will need another train to do its job. We will get a new train, and no wait, we'll add a locomotive to it. Yep. Okay. And then we will connect this one up to this one. And then just like that, we have a second train, which drops people on that one. This train actually, this rail or path has a really nice little bridge there, all automatically built. So you don't need to worry too much about that stuff if you just want to focus on the management of the rail network. So we'll give it a supply tower since it doesn't pass through one currently. And once again, because I get paranoid about these trains being properly supplied, I'll do 2. That's unnecessary, really. But there we go. So now we have one train going one direction, one train going the other direction. You can see them with the little arrows there. So the next job, moving trains back and forth across the cities is fine. That's one thing you can do. The next thing that you also need to worry about is also making sure that these cities are supplied with the resources that they need and desire. So currently, this you can see that as an icon underneath. This city really craves meat. It actually has that big building there is a meat processing factory, and if I was to supply this city with meat, what would happen is the city would grow quicker, which is of course what you want to do. You do want your cities to grow nice and quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to expand this one more time. Now you can have multiple trains running on the single track if you want, and you can set up the tracks so that there's split paths and things so the trains don't crash. But for the purposes of this demo, it's easier for me just to build extra tracks. So this is now a 3-stop train station, and you'll see why in a second. I'm going to pan back and look for... So these are all resources here. These icons all mean resources. What I would like to do, if I can, is find a meat resource. But I don't think I'm going to get lucky. There's no meat around. Eventually, you will get meat to that station simply by having a lot of different rail networks all connected up, and then everything kind of flows through at that point. But since I won't be able to do that, let's just focus on what is quite easy to get to the cities for the purposes of this demonstration. Building construction. A small train station's enough. And I can choose which of these, or if I want, actually I'm not sure if they actually have bigger range. They do. So if I build a train station instead, it has a bigger range, and it will actually transport both of those resources now. So let's do that. That makes sense. Now this is a rural one, a regional one. It doesn't transport people. It purely transports stock. Now the game actually recognizes whether you're building a regional station or a city station. So again, you don't need to make that distinction yourself. Actually, there was, sorry, one other thing I did mean to mention. You actually also need to construct a maintenance building so that all the trains that use your network end up near a maintenance building at least once on their paths. So putting that in my capital makes sense simply because all the trains are going through there. If you don't put it there, again, the trains kind of start to degrade. So it's just, I guess, a bit of busy work that you have to go through. Okay, so anyway, with that said and done, let's hook this up. Now, as you can see, it's all curving, which I don't necessarily want. So if I just curve it a little way, now I can straighten the track out. Very simple very simple track system to work with. Really like it, actually. Okay, so bang, just like that. And now you can see over the train station there, those are the resources that this train station is collecting. So I'm happy with that route. The next step is to build another new train. Add a locomotive to it. Okay, so it is now set up. And set up a rail line. So this one goes there. Save and end. And just like that, now I have this, this locomotive is collecting resources. As you can see, it's not carriages, it's resource collecting. It's going to drop those in the city, in this lovely large train station that I now have. It's looking very glamorous, isn't it? And those resources are going to filter into this city, but they're also going to be picked up by the other trains and dropped into the other 2 cities as well. So I now have a network of 3 train stations. And you can see it's already starting to grow, and it's been, what, about 10 minutes of play, so it's all very lovely. Ah, there is the cow. Okay, good stuff. Now I can give the town what it actually wants as well. I might as well. This will be the last thing I do to this demonstration. So once again, I'm going to... Now actually the train station is as large as it can possibly be. So that's something that I'm going to need to deal with. And the best way to deal with that would be, firstly, building construction. Let's start by getting a small train station. Maybe if I get a large one. There we go. So by building a large train station there, I can collect 2 lots of resources again. Actually, I'm going to be lazy, and I'm not going to bother with trying to mess around with the routes and stuff. I'm simply going to expand this train station so that it now has 2 lines as well, and I can then connect this station here, which has an awful lot of routes, with that station. Now what I'll do is I'll put it here, and then I'll have it go over these 2 waterways. And now you'll see there is an issue because there's a clash there over the tracks. So the best solution to that is to go long. So go this way, and loop it back. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Next thing we need to do is once again build a new train, add a locomotive, and then rail line them. So connect Norland Ranch with that station, and just like that, it's now loading up those things. Now I did forget, of course, to build the supply towers, so I better do that. Otherwise those trains supplying the towns with the meats and goods will struggle. I'll put 2 in, as I always do. That again is not necessary, I just do it because I get paranoid about my trains not having the supplies they need. Okay. And now I have a network. Now once again, if I was being clever and not being completely wasteful with my resources, I would actually just have the trains, I would split the tracks so that multiple trains are using each train line. But I am a little bit lazy, and I'm showing you the easy way of getting into things. Firstly, all of that costs about 1.6 million of the 3 million that I started with, so you do need to worry about your monies and stuff. But what will happen now is this train will drop meat into this city, which does crave meat, but it'll also send the leftover meat over to this city, and we will actually start to see our cities start to grow now. The populations will start to increase, more people will start using these trains, and it'll all be good. So that's in a sense, that's the first couple of minutes of Railway Empires for you. That really is the establishment of the game. Later on you do have to deal with the fact that your rivals are also connecting train lines up. In fact, let's see if we can find our rival just quickly. Pretty sure it's over here. They're over here. They're the yellow dot. They've started way up north. Yeah, see? So this is my rival. They've set up this network so far. It's quite nice. Quite a nice effort, actually. Look at that. Tunnels and everything. That is one spectacularly long train line. So they've gone and connected up the northern part of South America with their train line so far. So yeah, if you can play with more opponents as well, in which case it all gets very competitive then. You need to start dealing with auctions, and the financial side of things becomes more complex. But the actual building of the game is simple, it's quite streamlined, and it's about a mixture of resource management and also being able to play jigsaw puzzles, I guess, and connect the right things up with the right things. So that'll give you a sense of how to play the game. There is a full tutorial system which works out as a kind of mini story mode, which will walk you through the whole process of playing. It's very easy to get into. It's a very enjoyable simulation game. This is the best sim on the Switch now, I can comfortably say that. It looks a little bit of a downgrade compared to the PlayStation 4 version, of course, but when you consider the size of the maps and just the complexity of all the data that it is crunching, this is a really impressive effort to get the game onto the Switch as well. So that's me for this game. once again, I will have a review up on digitallydownloaded.net as well, so please do check that out. Let me know what you think of this game if you're playing it. Please do like and subscribe to the channel, because doing that is really helpful to help the channel grow and me do more things with it. Please do consider backing me on Patreon if you enjoy my videos, because that little vote of confidence with even $1 a month is actually a big boost to what I'm doing. And if you do want to support DDNet in another way as well, you can buy the visual novels that we create. They're fun, they're fan servicey, and they discuss a whole range of topics that we often talk about on DDNet as well in relation to games. So they're a little bit of a thought bubble as well as a visual novel to play. So thank you again for watching. We will see you at the next video. Have a good weekend, and yeah, talk to you soon.